I'm glad I took it because it's over. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all going well. So today's video, I have been thinking about filming this for a long time, and now that it's the end of the semester, I kind of feel like it's actually a good time to film it, because in this video I'm going to tell you about the classes that I took in my first semester at Yale, and I'm going to show you like my course schedule, and I'm going to tell you about each of the classes, what they were, what the content was like, how hard it was, what the assessments were like, what the professors were like, and give you like an overall rating of each class I took, and then tell you like what my whole overall course load was like and what each of my weeks looked like, and kind of just explain like the classes that I took in my first semester at Yale, because I would find this video interesting to watch. Like I'd be interested to know how courses and classes are kind of structured at other universities. So I hope you guys find this video interesting, and I also think it will be really good for me to look back on in the future and see like what I thought of my classes in the first semester, because I'll probably have like a lot more perspective on what they were actually like and how good they actually were once I've taken more classes, and once I'm like further into my education at college. So this will be a fun video for me to look back on, and I'm planning to do this sort of video at the end of every single semester, so kind of reflect on my classes for that semester at the end of each semester. So if you like the sound of that, then please give this video a thumbs out, because a thumbs up, because that really helps my channel. And let's get on to the video. Okay, I think I'm gonna cut that out. So in your first year at Yale, each semester, so Yale just has 2 semesters each year. So you have the fall semester, which goes from like September until December, and then you have the spring semester, which goes from January or February until like May. And I am going to film a whole separate video, because otherwise this video would be way too long, explaining the education system at Yale, because it is a liberal arts education and you need to get a certain amount of credits in each subject area, and you need to do these like distributional requirements and all of these different things. So I'll explain that in a separate video, and in that video I will also explain how the credit system works at Yale. So how many credits, because you need a certain amount of credits to graduate from freshman year and go into your second year, and then you also need a certain amount of credits to graduate at the end. So we will go into all of that in a separate video, but all you need to know for now is that each class is worth a certain number of credits, and generally in your first year you will take either 4 or 5 credits each semester. And in my first semester I took 4.5 credits. And to make up those 4.5 credits, I had 5 classes, and I'll go through the numbers and what they mean in a minute, but they were Math 115, Chemistry 163, Humanities 115, Economics 115, and PLSC 040. So that's probably like a whole lot of mumble jumble to you. So decoding that, I took a maths class, a chemistry class, an economics class. Hums 115 is a class called The Purposes of College Education, and that was my half credit. So all of these classes were worth 1 credit. Apart from this one, it was worth 0.5. So that's why I had like 5 classes and 4.5 credits. And then PLSC 040 was called How to Read the News, and that was a first year seminar. And again, we'll get into that in the video. Oh, I feel like all of my thoughts are a mess because I have so much I want to say, and it's really hard because you guys don't really know all of the like structure of the education and how everything works. So I feel like I have so much to explain. Also, if you guys are interested in looking at all of the classes that are available at Yale, and you guys can see these classes as well, and you can see like their syllabus and when they are and what professors teach them and stuff, you can go on Yale Course Search. It's just a website, like it's a Yale website, and it's what all the Yale students kind of use to choose their classes, because you can go on and see all of the different classes on there, and you can filter them by subject or by time or by professor or by distributional requirement or whatever. So you guys can go on there as well. I'll link that website down below, and you can go on and like play around, see. There are so many classes available at Yale, it's crazy, and they have them on so many different subjects. So I'm really excited to explore more of them as I go through my time at college. But yeah, if you're interested, you can go and look at that website. I'm just going to quickly put on the screen what my course schedule looks like, and then we're going to dive into each of the individual classes and talk about all of them. So let's start with Math 115, because that was the very first class I ever took at Yale. It was 9 AM on a Monday morning. Love that for me. Which when I was in Australia was 9 PM on a Monday evening. So Math 115 is obviously a math class, and basically if you want to take a math class at Yale, you need to do this like test thing. It's not like a test as in you get a score well, I mean, like, the score you get doesn't matter. It's a placement test. So it just places you into the math course that is best suited for you. And I got placed into Math 115. Cool. Lots of people took that one, like lots and lots of people. It's a big course. Lots of first years get placed into it. The reason why I decided to take this class was because I came into Yale thinking I'm probably going to major in either economics or in a sciencey area. And if I major in economics or if I major in a sciencey area, both of those need me to have done a math class. Like, a math class is a prerequisite for those majors, so I thought I might as well just do a math class in my first semester because I'm gonna have to do it probably, so I'll just do it and get it out of the way. Yeah. So my math classes were twice a week on Monday and Wednesday from 9 until 10:15, so they went for an hour and 15 minutes. And they were kind of like lectures, but not really, because there was only like, I think, 18 people in my class. It was a lecture in the sense that the professor was kind of talking the whole time and just going through work the whole time. We can stop him to ask questions at any stage, and it was fairly easy to do that because it was a fairly small class size. But there was heaps and heaps of those different sections, heaps of different classes like that. So I don't know if you'd call it a lecture, but I don't know what you would call it. But it was on Zoom, obviously it was taught remotely, and the professor would just kind of have his camera on his workbook, and he would just be like speaking and writing stuff down, and we would, like, you know, watch and listen and learn and copy stuff into our notebooks. So that was kind of the style of teaching. It was mostly him speaking the whole time. It wasn't a discussion-based seminar, but it was not like a massive like my economics class was a 400 and something person lecture, so it wasn't, there was, you know, it was kind of like a class, yeah, it was basically like a class at school, except the professor was talking the whole time for like, oh, actually, sometimes we did have, wow, this is going to be a long video. Sometimes we did have breakout rooms during the Zoom session, so the professor might talk for the first 50 minutes, and then we would have like a 15-minute breakout room, and we'd go into groups of 3 or 4 or 5 to work on some problems based on the content we'd been learning, and then we'd come back in the last 5 or 10 minutes and go through the answers to those problems. And one time, sometimes the professor would like bribe us with prizes, so whichever breakout room got the most questions right would win a prize. And one time my room won and we got chocolate, and I was at Yale at this stage, so I got to like go and pick up my chocolate from the professor's office. Anyway, that was the structure of those classes, and the only problem I had with them was that this was my this is one of my 2 classes that was not recorded. Now, I had big issues with this because I find it really hard to concentrate online. Like, I don't know why, I don't know how to explain this, but when I'm trying to learn online in a live session, it kind of sets my anxiety off, and I find it really hard to concentrate. And because these weren't recorded, if you miss something, there's birds chirping, sorry. If you miss something, then you've missed it. And my professor didn't really pause for breaks all that often, and so my mind kind of didn't have time to process the information before we then built on that information and learned more. And so I didn't really learn very well in this course just because the things weren't recorded. Like with my other classes, most of the lectures I would sometimes attend them live, but most of them I would actually watch recorded. I kind of got into this habit because I began my semester studying in Australia with a 12-hour time difference, and I had to watch most of my classes recorded because of the time difference. And so I got into the habit of watching them recorded, and then when I came to Yale, I was like, okay, cool, now I'll watch them live. But I started watching them live and I didn't like it, because when I was watching them recorded, I could pause, give my brain time to process, catch up with the information, and then start again. And then if I missed something, I could rewind it. And I just preferred that. So I would have much preferred if this class had been recorded, but that's the only negative thing I have to say on that front. What was my professor like for this class? So my professor was really nice. I liked him. I liked his teaching style. I thought he was good. Obviously I can't compare him to any other professors because I only had that one professor for math. But yeah, he was good. Now, how hard were the classes and what was the kind of load like? So, for Math 115, we had weekly assignments. So each week we would have an assignment called a problem set. So we'd have a P set due each Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. And it would look something like this. So I'll put an example of the P set on the screen. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but I'm gonna do it. So we would have one of those every single week and we'd have to answer all the questions, scan it, upload it, and submit it each Wednesday. And then throughout the semester we had 2 midterm exams and then we had a big final exam at the end of the semester. I'm just gonna say it, this was probably my least favorite class. It had nothing to do with the professor. It's math, like it's, yeah, no, I actually really hated this, okay. I am so glad it's over. The content wasn't too hard, but I don't know, I just really didn't like it. The load for this class, I would say it was just medium, but I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it, and maths, yeah, no. It's just math. I really didn't like how the classes weren't recorded. Like, that was probably one of the things that made me really not like this course, was the fact that the classes were not recorded, and if I missed something, like, which I did very often, then I just missed it, and so I like wasn't really keeping up with the content all that well. So overall, no, I didn't really like this class. What would I rate it out of 10? Like a 3 maybe. That's really bad. Oh, maybe another 3, maybe a 4. Well, I've got to be realistic. Like, yeah, like a 4, I would say, because if I'm thinking of a class that's like a 10 out of 10, this was very, very far away from that. Okay, I'm gonna say that I would rate this class a 4 out of 10. Would I take it again? No. But am I glad I took it? Yes, because if I do major in economics, or I'm probably not going to major in science now. I feel like I'm never going to do science again after chemistry. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you can hear background music right now, that is my uncle. He's a very talented musician and he is currently playing the piano, I think. So that's what you can hear. Sorry, the sound is just, there's going to be lots of background noises because there's like birds chirping. I'm in the Caribbean, what can I say? So yeah, if I could go back in time to the beginning of the semester, would I take this class? Probably not, actually. Like, I'm glad I took it because it's over. Yeah, so obviously Math 115, not the biggest vibe, but if you do have to take a math class, if you're at Yale, I've had a couple of you guys message me being like, because Yale's early decision offers just came out, and quite a few people have messaged me saying that they got in and they're really excited and they watch my videos and they want to, like, yeah, so that is cool. So if you're at Yale, I would recommend Math 115 if you need to take a math, or if you want to take a math. It's not awful, like, it's not awful. I think it would have been a lot better if the classes had been in person, if it had been normal circumstances. Okay, I think I've spoken enough on this class, so I'm gonna go into the next one, but it was okay. I'd probably rate it a 4 out of 10. Would not take again, but I'm glad I had the experience. Am I though? Am I though? I'm just looking at my list of classes, and I think what I'm gonna do is go in order from least favorite to favorite. So, my second least favorite class was Chemistry 163. Now, I feel really bad to say that because I love the professor of this class so much. He was absolutely amazing. I actually was in touch with him before the beginning of the semester because I wasn't sure which chemistry class to take, because at Yale there's like 2 levels of introductory chemistry. There's Chemistry 161 and Chemistry 163, and I have quite a lot of chemistry knowledge from high school. I did atar chemistry and I did very well in atar chemistry, so I thought like I should be in the higher, like I should be in Chem 163, which is the higher level of introductory chemistry, but I wasn't sure because I'm going from the Australian education system to the American one, and I wasn't sure if what we had learned would be different and if I should go in the lower one. So I reached out to him and asked, and he said Chem 163 would be good for me. He recommended that one, and there were some differences in what I'd learned versus what the Americans had learned, but we overcame those differences. The reason why I took this chemistry class was because I was interested in chemistry. I enjoyed chemistry in high school, and I wanted to see whether or not chemistry and sciences in general was something that I was interested in majoring in, because I wasn't really sure. I didn't love chemistry, but I enjoyed it, so I wasn't sure if that's something I wanted to major in. So I took chemistry to see if that kind of area is something that I'm interested in pursuing further at like a college tertiary level of education. So this class met 3 times a week, and we had 50-minute lectures. So Monday, Wednesday and Friday from 10:30 a.m. until 11:20 a.m. and this this was a lecture, so it was with everyone who's in the course. There was probably about like 80 people in this course, I think, so it wasn't massive, but the lectures did have everyone in the course in them, unlike math where there was like different sections. This one, everyone was just in the one lecture, and it was a lecture style. It was on Zoom, and you could ask questions, and there wasn't so many people. Like economics, there was so many people that you couldn't really ask questions unless they stopped and said specifically like ask questions now if you want. But chemistry, there was kind of like a good amount of people where anyone could kind of jump in with a question, and the classes were recorded, which I really appreciated. And the professor, like I said, amazing, such a lovely person and such a great teacher as well, and really knowledgeable, and you could tell he was so passionate about what he was teaching, and he made things really interesting, and I learned so much. Like I really expanded a lot on my chemistry knowledge from high school, and I am really glad that I took this course, and I feel really bad ranking it so low. No, maybe I shouldn't be ranking it this low, actually. No, I actually ranked this one 3rd, not 4th, but oh well, I'm talking about it now. Exactly the same as for my maths class. Every week we would have a problem set, and it was due on Wednesdays, and it would look something like this. It looks longer than the math problem set, but I don't know if it took longer because no, I can't say that. Maybe that's why I did bad in math, probably. Anyway, that is what my chemistry problem sets look like, and they were due every week. And then we had, okay, so for chemistry we had 4. Sorry, I thought there was a mosquito on my leg, but it's actually sweat dripping down my leg, which is really fun. So for chemistry, we had 4 midterms throughout the semester. 4. If you've been watching my vlogs, you will have heard me complaining about this, because that is a lot. That is a lot. So you can't call them midterms. You can't call them midterms. The term midterm implies that it's in the middle of the term. These were across the whole term. One of them was the week before finals. It was in the reading week before finals. Anyway, there was 4 midterms, and then we had 1 final exam. Also, all of my midterms went for 2 hours, and then my finals went for between 2 and 3.5 hours for all of my subjects. The content was challenging. So the content in this class is challenging. It requires you to think out of the box quite a bit. It's very interesting, but it is challenging conceptually. The one thing about this course, which I really loved, was there is no maths in this course. So chemistry obviously requires maths, and the future chemistry courses, if I was to do them, which I'm probably not going to do, but they would have math in them. But this course, for some reason, the professor just puts no math in it, and that was said like in the syllabus or whatever. There will be no math in this course, and I was like, yes, because me and math, no. I've always been very good at maths. Maths has always been like a strong point of mine, but as I got older, I just don't enjoy it more and more. Anyway, so the content was challenging, but it was definitely doable. Like it was doable. Yeah, it was okay. And the load was probably similar to math. Just an average load. I don't think any of my courses this semester were a really high load, probably because they're all first year, like not as in 2nd, 3rd or 4th years could take these courses, but most of the students in all of these classes were first years. So the course load was just average. Did I enjoy it? Okay, so I found the content interesting. I liked the professor. I liked his style of teaching. But I just don't think chemistry is for me. I don't think it's what really sparks my interest, and so I didn't love it. Basically, taking this course made me realize that I think I just don't want to pursue a science major. So yeah. However, I am very glad that I took this class, because if I hadn't taken it, then I wouldn't have known whether or not I wanted to pursue a sciencey kind of major. I was speaking to one of my sweet mates about this, and I was like, I took Chem 163 this term, and it has like shown me that I am not going to pursue a science major. And she was like, you're saying you're not going to pursue any science major based on one chemistry class? And I was like, yes, I am. I don't know if that's a good or a bad decision, but I feel like that's not really where my passion is. And so I'm glad that I took this class, because that allowed me to figure that out. And I'm also glad that I took this class because I am really happy with, like, I found it really interesting how much, like, what we learned. And it feels so good to know so much more about chemistry now, and to have expanded so much on what I learned in high school. So I'm really glad that I took it because of that, because I learned stuff. Like, I learned things and they were interesting, and I'm glad that I know them. What would I rate this class out of 10? That is a good question. Well, if you like chemistry, it would be a really good class. But personally, how much, I'm doing this rating based on not how good the class is, but how much I enjoyed it. Like overall, taking everything into account, how much did I enjoy it? Math was kind of like a 4 out of 10. Chemistry, I would say, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10 because, again, we need to think about what would a 10 out of 10 course be. This wasn't all that close to it, but it wasn't as bad as math. This is so gross. Look, can you see how there's like water? That is sweat. This laptop has been sitting on my lap, and that's like where my legs are. Why am I covered in sweat? That is so that is so gross. Alrighty, so like I said, I was supposed to be doing this in order of least favorite to most favorite, and then like I said, I've kind of changed chemistry from 4th out of 5 to 3rd out of 5. So my actual class that was 4th out of 5, i.e. my second least favorite, does that make sense? Is Hums 115 or Humanities 115, and this class is called, I did that because I kind of forgot what it's called for a second. What was it called? What was it called? Oh, the purposes of college education. The purposes of college education. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying, this is the class that is half a credit. So like I said, all of the other ones are 1 credit. This one is half a credit, so technically it should be half the work. And was it? We will find out in a second. But I want to preface this by saying the only reason that I took this class was because there is this new ruling that has come into effect. I don't know who, by some US government kind of organizational person. They've made this new ruling because of COVID that all international students who are studying in the US, who are like actually, you know, physically in the US, on campus in the US, must be taking an in-person class, basically. So that it's very, very complicated. There's a lot more to it than that, but basically I, as an international student studying on campus at Yale, I had to be taking a class that was in person. Now, very, very, very few classes at Yale are in person at the moment because of the pandemic, and this class was put on specifically for international students who needed to fulfill that requirement of having an in-person class. This isn't a Yale requirement, it's like a US government official requirement thing, so I had to do it. Anyway, long story short, I kind of had to take this class, basically. And yeah, it's called The Purposes of College Education, and basically it was just discussing the purposes of a college education. It was interesting. It was. So, this class, every week, it had 1 lecture. The lecture went for an hour, and it was on Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. And this lecture was recorded so that students who wanted to take it remotely could take it remotely, but it was also in person. So you could go to the lecture hall and sit and watch the actual lecture and be involved in the lecture. And whenever there was a small COVID outbreak on campus, which happened I think twice while I was there, the lectures would just not be in person and they would just be online. So yeah, but it was technically in person, so this is the one class that I could actually go to the lecture hall, which was fun. I didn't end up going that often because it was from Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. and was not feeling like trekking through New Haven at like nighttime in the dark. But there was that option, and again, if I had come to Yale from the very start of the semester, I probably would have gone to most of the in-person lectures, but it was just because I started studying in Australia, so I was kind of in the habit of watching this lecture recorded, so I kind of just continued doing that when I got to Yale. Also because as soon as I arrived at Yale, there was a COVID outbreak and the class like was not in person anymore, so anyway. Oh no. Sorry, that was very dramatic. I realized something I forgot to say. This video is such a mess. I realized something I forgot to say for chemistry. Yes, was that as well as the 3 50-minute lectures each week, I would also have a discussion section every single week, and that was on a Tuesday from 7 till 8 p.m. Yeah, 7 to 8 p.m. Now, these time slots, I chose my time slots for my discussion sections based on my Australian time zone, and I was trying to make it convert okay to that time zone. For example, if I'd chosen a time slot that was like 2 to 3 p.m. in the US, that would be 2 to 3 a.m. in Australia. So I chose one that was 7 to 8 p.m. in the US, so it was 7 to 8 a.m. in Australia, which is less than ideal, but I can't have any classes during my day in Australia because that's during the night in America, if that makes sense. I did have this discussion section every single week, and it was a really small group of us, about seven or eight students, I think, and then we had a teaching fellow. So this is like, I think she was a graduate student who's like doing research with our professor, and she was such a lovely person and absolutely amazing. She would kind of just like go through again all of the content, kind of do an overview of all of the content we'd done that week, and it was a lot more interactive, and we could ask lots of questions and she would ask us questions and get us to respond. And these I found really, really helpful for my learning in this class, and in all of my classes that had discussion sections. I found them so helpful. I think they're fantastic. Again, it would have been nice if we could have had them in person, but obviously we couldn't have because of COVID. But I found these so helpful, and my teaching fellow did such a good job of trying to make it as interactive as possible in an online environment. So she had us like, you know, annotate her Zoom screen with stamps and like draw things, and yeah, it was really good. So that was really helpful. So I had that for chemistry, and I also had one of those for Humanities 115, the purposes of college education. So I had the weekly lecture every single week, an hour on Wednesday evenings, and then I also had on Friday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. I had a discussion section, and this was again with a group of about 7 or 8 people and a teaching fellow. I'm not sure what my teaching fellow, what studies he was pursuing or what he was doing with his life, but he was great. He was really, really nice, and this class was very, you know, it's not like chemistry or maths where it's content and you just learn it. This class was very much kind of, what do you think? Like, what are your opinions? It's giving you some ideas and getting you to develop your own opinions and ideas and thoughts about what the purposes of college education are. And so the discussion sections were very much discussion based. It was a whole discussion. It wasn't really the teaching fellow kind of going through content. It was the teaching fellow asking a very open-ended question and getting us to kind of discuss the purposes of college education. So for this class, I didn't have a problem set due every single week. Instead, throughout the term, I had 4 papers, of which I had to do 3 of them, because there were kind of 4 units in the class, and so there was 1 paper for each unit, and I had to do 3 of them so I could choose 1 to skip out. And I skipped the second one because that was the time that I was moving from Australia to the US. There's a plane going by. And these papers were kind of pretty informal. You only had to write 3 to 5 paragraphs, and it was basically just give us your thoughts on some, like, this unit basically. And every single week there would be readings, so there would be really long readings that you would kind of have to read before. I say really long because I'm just not used to college level readings and I found them really long, but you'd do them before the discussion section, and then you'd kind of like discuss the readings in the discussion section. And so the papers that you wrote throughout the term were just 3 to 5 paragraphs, loosely based on your kind of expanding, like taking the readings that you had read and then expanding and talking about your ideas and opinions on them. They were really easy to write because you could basically just say whatever. Oh, and this course was credit D fail, which is basically pass fail. So you don't get a letter grade, you just get a pass or a fail on your transcript. So as long as you submitted something, then you're probably gonna pass. And really, like, honestly, you didn't have to do the readings, really. Did I do the readings? I'll leave that one for you to judge, but you didn't really have to. I did some of them. Anyway, and then our assignment at the end of the semester, so we didn't have a exam for this class. Instead, we had an assignment, and it was just 4 pages, and we basically just had to reflect on our first semester at college. So you could write literally whatever. It was very open-ended. There were some prompts you could do, or you could just make up your own prompt, and it was basically just reflecting on your first semester at college. So that wasn't too hard at all. Yeah. Oh, and I made a mistake with this. So it was 4 pages, right? And so I wrote 4 pages, and then someone told me it was supposed to be double spaced. And when you double space 4 pages, it becomes 8 pages. So then my thing was 8 pages, and I just submitted it because there was no like word limit. It was just, it's very, you could have written a book if you wanted to. That it really didn't matter. There was really very little criteria for this. Overall, did I like this class? It's not really my thing. The kind of readings that we were doing were like, we would do readings from like Aristotle and people like that. I'm not into that kind of stuff at all. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy reading things like that. I find them very complicated, very difficult to process, and I don't really want to have my own opinions about them. I don't really care. So that sounds really bad. And I did enjoy the discussions that we had in our discussion section. I enjoyed those discussions, but I didn't like just reading about these things because I found the readings very complicated and difficult to understand. And overall, this kind of content isn't really my thing. Like, I don't really enjoy I did enjoy the discussions. I enjoyed hearing other people's perspectives, and it was interesting. And I say that this isn't really my thing, but one of the reasons I went to Yale is because it forces you to try things that aren't your thing, or it doesn't force you to, but encourages you to try things that aren't your thing, and you really grow all sections of your brain and all parts of you. Like, I don't know if this is making sense, but you don't just go into college and be a science major and just do science. You get to do all of these kind of different things, and you kind of have to fill in the distributional requirements. So I'm glad that I kind of stretched my brain in a way that it wouldn't normally be stretched in the subjects that I would normally choose. However, I didn't really love the content just because it's not really my thing. Would I take this class again? Like, the reason I took this class was because I had to. Would I take it again? Honestly, yes. Yes, I would. I think if I didn't have to take it, then no. What am I saying? One of the reasons why I liked this class was because the load was very, very low. It's worth half a credit, but the work I was doing was probably like a fifth of a credit, if that. Like, it was really not a lot of work at all. And the professor designed the course in such a way because he made the course because international students kind of had to do it, so he didn't want it to be a massive burden on us. And it wasn't. Oh, the professor was lovely. I thought his style of lecturing was great, super engaging, and he was such a nice person, so give him 100%. Yep, he was really good. So I liked all of those aspects of the course. The only thing I didn't like was just, it's not really what I'm interested in. But, you know, yeah, so what would I rate this out of 10? I'm gonna give it like, maybe it's the same as chemistry. Actually, I'm gonna give it, yeah, no, I think I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I know that sounds kind of low. It wasn't bad at all, but I just want to be very conservative with my rankings because I'm gonna rank all of my classes throughout my whole time at Yale, and I think I'm gonna get ones that are a lot better. So I'm trying to be conservative, but it wasn't a bad class at all. So 6 out of 10. Cool.